Here's how I made this cool tiled jewelry holder. I saw a similar one on Etsy priced at over $100 and figured I could make it myself. Turns out, it wasn't as easy as I thought. I started by making a rectangular mold out of foam core and pouring Quikrete into it. The first pour I did was pretty thin, so I decided to try again. After making a thicker mold and letting it dry, I cut it open to reveal a solid piece. That foam core came off pretty easily, despite some paper residue, and the piece was square and sturdy. I had to decide where to position that upright piece, whether it be an L shape or something more like an inverted T, which is what I ended up going with. I ultimately opted to do another thick pour for that vertical piece to make this thing extremely oversized and heavy and robust. I bought tiny tiles in 3 colors from Amazon to create a pattern, which isn't an option in that Etsy version, but it's something I can do custom. I started by placing the tiles by hand, but was frustrated by the inconsistency and tedious nature of this process. So I laid out the pattern on the table, unsure of how to transfer it to the concrete. I experimented with different methods, and decided to use tape to do a direct transfer of the pattern. This proved challenging due to a lack of space between the tiles. It didn't really let the grout seep between the tiles, and I'd already spent more than enough time trying to lay out the grid on the table with even spacing. So for this first upright panel, I decided to just overdo the amount of grout and kind of let that squish between the tiles, pushing them apart. Eventually, I resorted to individually placing tiles, which was actually faster and more effective. Close up, I didn't like the way it created an uneven result, but the imperfections didn't end up showing in the final result and possibly even improved it. It was also pretty satisfying and fun to do the tiles individually, even if it took me hours and hours. The grout is kind of like playing with marshmallow fluff. Lay down a bit of grout, place tiles, adjust, lay down a bit of grout, place tiles, adjust. When each panel was finished, I immediately hit it with some wet paper towels to remove that excess grout, and the piece really started to come to life. Those tiles are so awesomely radiant together. After finishing all the panels, I took it to the sink as I had to remove excess grout that I had missed, which was super time consuming. Turns out that paper towel step is super important. I was having to use the chisel to chip off little flecks of dried grout. Oh, and here's me cleaning the sink too for some bonus content. Once everything was cleaned up, I added hooks for hanging jewelry. Attempting to cut the hooks failed, so I drilled pilot holes and screwed them in, chipping a few tiles in the process. Despite imperfections, the final product turned out satisfying, showcasing the pattern well, and being a good place to put some jewelry or other accessories. And I think my girlfriend was pleased too. Thanks for watching.